Hey guys, today we're going to be looking at the Takara Brave J Decker, and here he is, and I absolutely love this toy. And before we get into it, I want to apologize that I've just been doing a bunch of videos over all the Brave toys that I own, the entirety of August, and then I did Dag Armor as a short here like a couple weeks ago. I'm sorry, but I got this guy in the mail here a couple weeks ago. And I'm just super excited to review him, so I just had to. So here he is. As I said, we have Deckard and the J Rotor, and obviously you can see Deckard obviously is in police car form and the J Rotor. So I have, obviously, this is the DX version. I reviewed the standard version of J Decker, or Fire J Decker, I should say, the gift set. But the standard version of J Decker here like a year or two ago, I think, year and a half ago. And I really liked it, and it made me really excited to get my hands on the DX version, the big version. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna look at this guy, but we're gonna compare a few things because they are very, very, very similar toys. Just one is big, one is small, and a couple other aspects. So let's get rid of Deckard and get the standard J Rotor in here. So here is the standard J Rotor, and here is the DX J Rotor. And I'll just turn them this way so you can get a sense of their size. This way, I'll turn them this way. I'll just put them on top just so they can both fit in frame. That one is significantly bigger than the other. So yeah, they are very similar, obviously. They transform very similarly. Just he has to utilize parts forming, and he does not. The DX doesn't, obviously. The cannons on the back still rotate on both of them. Just the DXs obviously can fire, and I don't have the missiles for him. And he cannot. On the back of this one, obviously, you can flip out these hinges, and you can store Deckard in there. I don't know. I like just having Deckard off to the side, and obviously, the standard, you can't do that. And if you know the show, if you've seen the show, the cab is typically in line with the body, and obviously, since the whole front of the standard comes off and pegs into the side, does the whole parts forming thing and doesn't have these hinges, it can get away with this more animation accurate styling of the cab being directly in line with the sides, while the deluxe has to have the cab offset or smaller than the sides. So that's the difference in the J Rotor form, or the J Rotor from Deluxe and Standard. So let's get Deckard on the table and look at him. So this is probably the biggest difference between the toys, not design-wise, but size-wise. This is obviously the Standard, and this is obviously the Deluxe. And he is easily half the size, nearly both ways, lengthwise and width. Not really thickness, but definitely lengthwise and thickness. But the details on it are really nice. These are stickers, obviously, on the standard version. The DX has a nice chrome-plated piece of plastic. Obviously, has these two sirens, and the emblem that will become the chest of J Decker. Some little bit to paint along the side, and then just that. And then standard, most of this stuff is stickers. This is still paint, it looks like. Yeah, this is all paint. This black that was on this is paint. Obviously, that is done in chrome. And these are done in stickers in the wheels. It has no even like little casters. It just slides. And obviously cannot transform. So, yeah, basically the same amount of paint. A little bit more on this guy. And his sirens are chrome, and I kind of like the chrome on the standard vehicles more than the lights. I really like the lights, but I more like the chrome. I just like the look of it, but I understand why they went with lights, obviously. And I'll show off the lights for the J Rotor more in J Decker form. His lights do not work. It's just the siren, so that is the siren, and the lights don't work, as I said, and it takes 2 watch batteries, and if we flip him over, you can kind of see how he's going to transform. You take off his front skirt, and the batteries will be in there. So, yeah, there is Deckard, and both deluxe and standard. So, let's get the J Rotor back on the table, and let's look at them. So, now we have the J Rotor, and while he's back on the table, I'll just show off his sirens, and we'll just put Deckard off to the side, and it's this piece right here, and you gotta push forward. His lights and sounds are much more real, much more loud, so yeah, we'll just put him off the side, and while he's still here, I'll just show off. You can put Deckard back there. And I typically just move the feet up just so I can get my finger in there a little bit easier. So now both of them can ride together. But we need Deckard, so we'll pull him out and we'll just put the J Rotor back there. So now let's transform Deckard, and I really like his transformation. It reminds me of the Legends class, or the Cybertron Legends Hot Shot. Just the way his arms transform, and his legs don't transform the same way, they're sliders. But just this like small tactile feel that he's a touch bigger than like a Hot Wheels car. So I just like being able to hold him. This is my favorite part of the entire set. I have seen more Deckards up for sale than J Deckers in general. And if you can't find a J Decker, I would really consider just getting Deckard, because if you like small toys especially, I really like him. But you just flip that up. This is not pinned, at least on my copy. You will swing out the arms, nearly identical to like Hot Shot, Cybertron Hot Shot, and bring the arms down, and then you just fold the legs out. And this is one thing I don't like. I wish he had just the tiniest bit more heel, because he does tend to lack a little bit of balance, but overall, he still stands pretty well, but he can fall over. Like, for some reason, I had like $1 bill on my desk, and he would not stand if I stood him up on that. It was just barely uneven enough from the table that he really wouldn't stand. But overall, he stands okay, and the stickers really show off the accuracy. Obviously, it's not completely show accurate, but the stickers definitely try, and that head sculpt is definitely trying as well. Love the actually like chromed head crest with the Brave Police badge logo on it. Really, really love that. But yeah, I've seen this guy go from like $50 to like $90 if you just are looking for Deckard, and I really like Deckard. Without talking about the J Rotor, I really love Deckard. He's just super, super good, super, super fun. I've transformed Deckard just as much as I have transformed it entirely. And you don't need to transform him into Deckard to form J Decker. So if you can find a Deckard, I would really recommend getting just him and waiting to find an entire J Decker, because he's just as fun by himself as the J Rotor plus Deckard. And I didn't experience that with Gygar or X Kaiser. They're both wonderful base toys but something about him being smaller, he just feels more tactile and more playable. And he does have a little bit of articulation. He does have an elbow. You can move his legs like that, and these are they're not ratcheted, but you can just see how they sort of like stop. So he does have some articulation. It's not great. I think they could have maybe worked in a shoulder joint, but I don't care. I got this guy. He does not have his gun or his badge, which I don't care too much about. But I'm very happy just to at least have him because he alone is a very nice, fun toy. So to get him into ready for Jay Decker, we basically have to transform him back again. So we'll just swing these back up, flip this down, and then we will fold that up and fold that down. And then close these up, and you can see how this is sculpted, how it's kind of like scooped. You have to, I guess you could force it past, but you have to move the arms out to make it go back like that again. And we'll leave the dramatic head reveal for last. So put that off to the side. And now for the J rotor. Flip up the feet, and we'll stand them up. And immediately have to raise the camera. And now we will drop that down, and now we can come back here, come up here, and open up this, swing out the arms, rotate them, fold out the fist, and repeat that over here, like that, and then bring the arms down, swivel them around, and this is one of my favorite parts, is just being able to just flip this back and forth, just because it has enough friction to keep it where it is on both sides, but it's not enough to where I can just smack it, just light little smack, and then it'll just fly over, because it rides on that hinge. And then split the legs, and then bring the wings out. I guess you could leave them right there, but I go all the way like that. And we'll just lower this down just a touch. So then you have this little connector that will obviously go in there. And then you have these two hooks back there that will go in these like cutouts for the hinge joint. Like that. And now you bring up the head. And there is Jay Decker. So, yeah. Here he is, and I love the look of it. I love the fact that I love this transformation. I do really love the look. I adore the look, love his design, but my favorite part of him is his transformation. I love Decker's transformation. I love his transformation. It's just barely beyond X-Kaiser's. Like, he has, his legs can spread apart more. He has some actual articulation in his arms, and he can actually do some stuff. There's nothing in his legs, there's nothing in his head, but it's much better than X-Kaiser. And I don't own Fiber, and I don't own Dagarn or Mike Gain, but I own him, and I know how those toys work, and just that he seems like more tactile. He seems more fun than X-Kaiser. X-Kaiser, he's fun because he goes from a big toy to another big toy, but really doesn't transform. The J Rotor actually transforms and does something. The J Rotor already kind of doesn't look like a truck. He looks like a convincing truck, but kind of, sort of. But now he does an actual transformation, and you can see that there's not really a truck left other than the shoulders. And Deckard, he somewhat transforms, but he is more convincing enough how he sort of like blends into it, unless you sort of look at his collar. I just love how he transforms, and that he stays with the idea of the Transformers, is that he can do a transformation that, yeah, he may not be a super convincing vehicle, at least the J Rotor, but he has this sort of natural, tactile, simple transformation that there's just enough going on to keep you intrigued and want to keep doing it, and there's just barely none to where you can just flip it back and forth without even looking at it and thinking. Just has the same vibe as the G1 toys. So I do want to talk about his shoulders really quick, so I'm gonna get those pieces on the table. So these are the pieces. I also got the weapons, and they're down here. But these pieces came out of the shoulders. So I'll just take Deckard out really quick just to show this off. And there's no real good way, in my personal opinion, to get Deckard out. You just have to rip him out. But can you see these indents, these circular indents in the shoulders? And that works. You can see the other one on that side. And these are just friction. But these pieces are in there and rot, and these little bumps set in those grooves, and actually physically lock them in. And I didn't like that because these have just they still squish, but they don't squish enough. At least now, and maybe I should have just like the shoulders. The shoulders were super stiff, but maybe I should have just kept doing it and break them in, I guess. But I just hated the creaky sound. I felt like these were gonna break, so I just took them all apart and took these out, and I just keep them with the instructions and everything. Because I didn't want them to break. I didn't want them like to bind up the shoulder or anything. But so that's what I did. That's why they might seem a little loose to me, but because they really just might act as just more outward movement, for posing, they weren't like structural. Like the legs, like, yeah, it's loose. The legs kind of because I've transformed it so much and I had to take it apart and I didn't want to strip out the screws, I just left this loose. But since it doesn't, it's not like he can kick forward and now it's loose, or like this is loose so now his arm can't go up and hold a pose. I didn't really mind having these pieces be loose because they don't hinder his posability or hinder him falling over or make him fall over anything. So that's what I did. I took those out, and if you hear that creaking and you're not happy about it, I would suggest taking those out, putting them in a Ziploc bag, and keeping those somewhere that you know where they're at. That's what I'm going to do because I like them to just be freer and be able to just transform them quickly and easily like that. So, as I said, I got the weapons here, and this is the J Buster and sticker in there. And yeah, put that in his left hand, and then his baton in the silver in his right hand. And there are his weapons. So let's get the standard and compare them. So here is the standard, and you can really tell the difference now. You can really tell the difference between the two. Obviously, there's small things like he has a all-white baton. It's not chromed like the big one. His gun, the J Buster, doesn't have a sticker or really any sort of colored detail. Obviously, you can tell that mine is a bit yellowed. My DX J Decker. But I love the look of these two guys next to each other. When I got the standard, it made me super excited to get a big DX version. And I'm really happy that I can put these guys next to each other. And like I said, is that I love the chrome of the red chrome on the sirens. I love it. I do like the transparent plastic due to the lights and sounds on this guy, but I really wish it was chrome. It would have just pulled the chrome for the chest plate and, the chest plate and everything together. I just love it. I would have preferred that, but it still looks nice. Obviously, the guns still work in both modes. You can swing out the guns and everything, but I really, really like these two together. I love them. They both look amazing, and I especially really love this guy. He is a phenomenal toy. Love, 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 love it. Of all the Brave toys that I own, which isn't too many, but he's easily the best, in my personal opinion. Or not the best, I would give that to the Galgai-Gar. He's probably the best, but he's my favorite. Infinitely my favorite. And he's the tallest that I have. He's taller than Dragon Kaiser. And Dragon Kaiser is taller than X Kaiser and the Galgai-Gar. So he is probably about Cybertron Metroplex size. He's a big, big toy. With lights and sounds, yeah, it's just super cool, super phenomenal. But the standard isn't anything to sleep on. The only downside is that you have to parse from the shoulders. That's it, and the back. But that's really it. Obviously, you have to split the car for Decker. But overall, my thoughts. Which one should you get? I'm not doing like I kept him more out of the review because I've done a review on him. But who is the best? If you're willing to wait, if you're willing to look and willing to spend probably at least $200 to $300, I paid $200 for mine. But typically, I see this guy go for closer to $300, the DX, and you're willing to look. I have seen more Deckards alone than more J Deckers complete. So that has to say something. That's why I recommend if you can get just Deckard, and for how fun just Deckard alone is, I would say buy the Deckard and wait to get a J Decker. Is it worth it to track down a standard version? And you can find a standard much easier, in my personal opinion. Maybe not right now, or where you live, or with your budget, or whatever. But what I have found in my experience, I have found a standard J Deckers or Fire J Deckers way easier than J Decker, the DX version. Way easier to find this toy opposed to this toy. And if you don't have a lot of space and you don't mind the size and you don't mind the parse forming and you want the basic same tactile funness of the big guy, I would highly recommend getting this guy. But if you're willing to wait and you're willing to spend the money and take up the space, you cannot beat this guy. I highly recommend this guy. I really recommend him, the standard version. But I love both of them. He's barely equal. He's just that far away from being equal with this guy. I infinitely love him. He has a place in my heart because he probably made me love this guy so much because I love this toy so much. But I adore this toy. I very much love it, but like I said, you're going to have to wait. You're going to have to look. You're going to have to probably spend quite a bit more money than what you want to, at least to me, especially for complete one. The only complete one that I saw started at like $330 and went down to $270. I think it's been sold. It was complete. It was like basically sealed. But that's the price you're gonna have to pay, how much you're gonna have to look. Like, ever since I got this guy, I've kind of sort of been looking. It's really been since I started watching all the shows that I really started looking at Brave toys, and he was always there. Really couldn't find one until, here recently, like 2 or 3 came up, and I ended up getting this guy. And I love it, but you're gonna have to wait and watch and look around for one. I have found there are some obviously on Bai or Mercari Japan and all over the place, but you're going to have to go through shipping and stuff like that. But you might not, you're going to have to look. You're going to have to look. You're not going to have to look near as hard for a standard as a deluxe as what I have found. But if you're into this, if you're into the show, if you're into just Transformers, or even just transforming Japanese robots or transforming robots in general, I would really recommend tracking either of these guys down. But if you want the biggest version, the best version, track down the DX. So put him off the side. And I just love this toy. I've said it enough. I adore this toy. It's amazing. It's awesome. It's cool. It's fun. It's huge. I absolutely love it. And it's just amazing. And I thought I was gonna have to wait a whole lot longer to get my hands on this guy this year, and he really made Bone Crusher, movie masterpiece Bone Crusher, run for his money for this the top list of this year. It's between these guys for a top 5 spot. Not gonna give away their actual ranking at this moment in time, but he really tried to beat him. And if he had a bit better maybe articulation or a couple little more intricate things with his transformation, I think or he was complete, I think he would have surpassed Bone Crusher. But Bone Crusher, man, he's an amazing toy. But yeah, overall, I love this guy. He's tactile, he's fun, he's gigantic, he's amazing. He's got the plastic, he's got the size, he's got the heft. He reminds me of a G1 Transformer. And even a Cybertron Transformer, like how Deckard transforms with like the little Legends class toys. I absolutely love this guy. Highly recommend him if you can find one, especially for a good price. So that's really all I have to say. So, till next time, see ya.